Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into the news review. And it's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We all know they've been generous enough. They're offering us gratis prostate screening, female fertility screening as well. Where can you locate them? Here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hanswa and Esiama Enzima. Their call line 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Well, it's our pleasure this morning to have joining the conversation Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies. Doc, yedasi bebre sanope one yebetwetwenko.
I
did a switch. I did a little switcheroo on you this morning. I wanted to see how you would react. Good to have you, Doc. Good to have you as always. It's a Wednesday, and you're joining us once more. Any matters, topical matters you'd like to reflect on before we get into the papers? I always do that with you, and this Wednesday will be no different. But just to let you know as well. Today we're talking about a structure that just came out, that just crumbled to the ground, I should say. A church structure. Let me just give you the name, the Word in Action Church at Old Botiano. We've had about 3 such incidents in recent times. I was just sharing, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, that a few months ago, it was this year, somewhere in cantonments, I actually took pictures of a similar incident. In broad daylight, the building just came down. And per my investigations, I realized that this high-rise building, I think it must have been about 4 floors or something of the sort, had been constructed, had sprung up within about 6 months. So are standards being met? And are we doing the right things? We've had too many building collapses in this country at the cost of life and property. What is your take on that, if you have any? And then we'll get into other matters of concern in the paper. So if you have any reflections, this is the time to share them with us before we get into the papers.
Yes, I think I'm faced with 2 important ones. What you have said, and then also want to touch on this government proposal to, as it were, amend certain portions of the Constitution to allow, politicians with dual citizenship to hold certain key offices. I want to touch on that. And in the course of the conversation, I also zero in on the collapsed buildings, which recently we saw one near Medina, that area. Let me start with the government proposal, which John Mahama also has said that he will also support that call. So when you look at what is happening,
so it was the Council of State, and Parliament is going to take a look at it. There are differing opinions on the matter from both sides of Parliament. And since you're situating it from there, I might want to run this by you as well. Some have said that Section 8 of the Constitution actually doesn't apply. Allegiance, citizenship, 2 different things. But 94(2)A, which is specific on a member of Parliament or people holding public office, is what then we have to look at. I would like you to add as well what you think. Because yesterday I put this forward. In fact, I met a minister, let me leave it that way, yesterday. And this person, and I'm saying that and not mentioning his name so that this person will not be known, basically agrees that, look, this has been weaponized both by the NDC and the MPP. But why should we deny people who are Ghanaian, whether dual citizens or not, the right to serve if need be? What proof do we have that maybe they may filter out information and all of that? And then we have the James Jachikwason situation, because while the law cannot be applied retrospectively, if this comes through, if it sees the light of day, likely he could petition and say, look, this is my situation and I want some redress. So that's the context I wanted you to put that in.
Yeah, I will look at it from the point of view of the fact that MPs, government actors really want the law to be amended to make room for people to hold dual citizenship and at the same time occupy certain key positions, which the Constitution, as we speak now, doesn't allow that. Some of the positions that the proposal has come up with, which is going to change, is the IGP position, the CDS, the Director of Immigration, MPs, and all that. In short, just to say that if you hold any of these positions I've mentioned, and you have dual citizenship, you can occupy any of such position. Let's look at the issue of CDS. It is an office where all the security apparatus congregate to take important decisions of national interest, security decisions, right? And now here you are saying that you want to allow people with double nationality to be able to occupy that office. You see, nationality and loyalty is critical in governance because it's part of the civil service tradition where you are required to be allegiant to your state. The reason is that government want to always have what? Discipline, loyalty, and honesty in discharge of government business. So, and what is more important is also that in governance, you require, it is incumbent upon public officials to keep what secrets to ensure protection of national interests. So imagine you have these security couples, IGP, CDS, who are keeping very important security information. They handle it day in, day out, working with the president to maintain the security of the nation. And here you are, they have double allegiance. What do you expect? Let us remember that when people have double allegiance...
that is essentially the point, Doc. Pardon my interjecting once more. Allegiance and citizenship are not one and the same. I mean, you can have a Ghanaian whose allegiance is owed to another entity or another country. In fact, when it comes to allegiance, someone could openly say, I mean, with witnesses, I renounce this allegiance, and it is acceptable. Citizenship is a different matter altogether. So we cannot merge the two. We cannot necessarily say that there are so many Ghanaians. I mean, let's be realistic. A lot of our politicians, our leaders that we've had in this country, they've not shown allegiance to Ghana. They've been citizens, all right, but have they been loyal to the country? So that's the dichotomy. That's the fine line between the two.
But when you put the two together, what we want is that bottom line, we want national interests to be what? Secured at all times. So when you have people with divided loyalty, because once you have national double allegiance, you have divided loyalty. And remember that every human being, you have your own preference. You don't want to voice it out, but within you. So when an issue borders on what? A state which you have allegiance to, even though you have not made it public, but you occupy an office in one of the countries, all right? How do you deal with that situation? Let us remember that security information and all the rest, the secrecy laws, they are not meant for fun. It's just to protect this, because it's not every, society information that you want to put out there for public consumption. No, it doesn't help governance. I acknowledge that transparency is important, but we are not transparent in all the things. There are things we want to keep to our chest for the benefit of us maintaining society and keeping it going. So imagine you have a president who is working with, let me put in quotes, foreigners, because they are people with double nationality and double allegiance. Here you are. And they keep vital information of security nature. Can you trust that the information will not get to a country of their interest? That means that conflict of interest is here. Conflict of interest by our Constitution, Article 284, say that don't put yourself in a position that your interest supersedes that of the state. Obviously, the person will satisfy the interest by divulging information to a place that he has, the interest in. So that creates a problem. What is more is that the president is now, if you like, working with foreigners who keep vital information of the state. So when he's working with the CDS and IGP, who have double allegiance, double nationality, to me, what it means that he's working with foreigners, quote unquote, because at any point in time, the president may lose some of the information that he thinks that he's keeping in this country. He can get to another jurisdiction. How is he going to guarantee that? And if we want to really understand the effect of this thing, let us look at this. Why can't we make also the president position that, yes, if you hold dual citizenship, you can also be a president? Why are we running away from that? What is also interesting is that why is that when we are recruiting people in the army, we want people whose nationality belong to the state, that we don't want dual citizenship? Why? Then we should also open that floodgate so that, yes, you can join the army if you are a Togolese or an American. You can join the army. Why? There are certain basic things that we want to keep to ourselves.
Right.
And we require utmost allegiance. We don't want double allegiance.
Right.
And that is where the problem is.
Doc, we have to make tracks, but quickly on this point. So, again, what you suggested may not necessarily be allegiance, it may be loyalty. And that I agree may be difficult to filter, because how can you gauge someone's loyalty, especially if the person has differing interests? And in fact, maybe not loyalty, interest. The person may claim loyalty to one entity, but let's say that Ghanaian, a dual citizen, has a partner who is from the other country involved, and something must happen. This is your partner's home country, and certain things have to be done. I accept interest, because then the person's hands are tied in a way. You have to do something, yet because of your personal interest, because of your relationship with your partner, it becomes a bit difficult. I understand it. So your position then is that, and just to make this point as well, across the world, there are many countries, even in the West, that allow you to be a dual citizen and hold crucial positions. Some have said we're lagging behind in Ghana. What do you make of that? And is your final position that we should leave things as they are? Just very quickly on that.
I believe that we should leave things as they are, because if you look at even the United States and other advanced democracies, if you have dual citizenship, you will not be allowed to hold certain positions because they can't vouch for your loyalty.
But in the UK, for example, you can be a member of their parliament and all of. I mean, as far as even if we narrow it down to lawmakers in the West, in very sophisticated, developed democracies, they allow people who have dual citizens, among others, to participate in their law-shaping process. The UK has a curious situation there as well. So even if we're going to say that, okay, if you're going to be a president, I do remember Barack Hussein Obama, some even suggesting there was a term that Trump, coined back then. I think the Bertha something, trying to question his place of birth and all of that. I get that. But beneath the presidency or anything else, people have said, if you can appoint such people to head crucial institutions in this country, why can't they make laws like we see in other countries? That's the context.
You see, the context, people also forget about institutions that support the concept. Do we have the institutions, the rules, the regulation, the behavior that we are going to, use to govern some of these things? What do we have that? The capacity, right? It's not only because it's being practiced elsewhere, but here, do we have the capacity to be able to have such laws and apply them the way they ought to be? That is the difference. There are other jurisdictions, people will be honest. I'm not saying that there are not honest people here, but there are other jurisdictions where people will tell you that, well, I have this interest and I will declare my interest. That is the point of conflict of interest, where your interest clashes with that of what the state. You declare it and all that. Do we have people who are bold enough to do this? Because we have seen in this country where people, there's a problem, they need to resign from the office. They said, I will not resign today or tomorrow.
Right.
That, culture is not here. So that institution is not here. So we are saying that let us have what we have, maintain it, and not look at what is elsewhere where they have what institutions to support that.
All right.
And they have all the rest to it. We don't have that. And it's going to create a problem because when it comes to people's personal interests, they'll sacrifice the state. And then the state will be the loser. And I am calling, I just want those who are arguing on these lines to also look at the situation, extend the conversation to also allow anybody who have dual citizenship to allow the president, to allow him to become the president.
All right.
Or the chief justice. If we believe that it doesn't matter, let us extend it to that place and let us see. And then the army, let us recruit foreigners in there, that you have double citizenship, you can also be in that. Then we are saying that we are in full business. But do we have the capacity, the institution to support this? I dare to say that we should not go near. We'll have our fingers bent.
That's an important point you make. It got me contemplating though. I know two brothers, for example, who have served. Well, one of them served in the Ghana military. The other one served in the UK military. In fact, he was sent to one of these wars. I've forgotten whether it was Afghanistan or one of those places. He still is Ghanaian. I'm not certain whether he has dual citizenship, but I do know that he remained Ghanaian and he was in the UK army. He was deployed to, I believe, Afghanistan, and I think he has dual citizenship. So on the military front, I don't know, but I don't have all the facts. So for that one,
what about the president? Let us allow people with dual citizenship to also be the president of this country. Right. If we believe in what we believe in.
Honestly, I have my thoughts supporting both ends, but we'll see in the best interest of our country what our lawmakers decide. Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. We'll have to make tracks rather quickly. On page 11, workers demonstrate against Asogli Power, demand reinstatement of 3 sacked workers. So what is happening? The Ghana Mine Workers Union, supported by the Trade Union Congress, Ghana, is demanding the reinstatement of their 3 local union leaders who have been dismissed by the Sunon Asogli Power Ghana Limited for joining the union. Clad in red and black attires, members of the union yesterday protested the dismissal of their members following the expiration of the ultimatum given to the company to reinstate the workers. Numbering about 600, the members converged at the Mount Sinai Methodist Church, hoisting placards with inscriptions such as, quote, "Enough of the intimidation of workers' rights, stand up for your rights, bring back the 3 dismissed local union leaders of Sunon Asogli Power Limited." And there was also stop interfering in the unionization of workers. This situation has stoked the ire of the unions. And of course, people are free to join these unions. But quite an interesting development there by Asogli Power. And in fact, they have threatened that if action is not taken, they are going to cripple the country as far as those sectors are concerned by embarking on a strike, an industrial action. There is also on page 12, 7 injured after collapse of 1-story church building at Old Botiano. I was telling you about that a bit earlier. And the victims, one in critical condition and yet to be identified, were rushed to the Botiano Polyclinic and Kolebu Teaching Hospital for treatment. The collapsed buildings bring the number to 4 in the past week in Accra and some parts of the region, and Tamale, resulting in the death of 2 persons and 3 others suffering injuries. So that is 4 in the space of just a week. And these were 7 male worshippers of the Word Action Church who were involved. I'll wrap with this story. So I've told you on the industrial front, workers' demo against Sunon Asogli, 7 injured in that 1-story church building crash at Old Botiano. And again, members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum for the 2nd consecutive day yesterday picketed at the Ministry of Finance to implore government to pay outstanding coupons on their matured bonds. The government has not been able to pay the coupons on matured bonds for the pensioner bondholders who were exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. Now, the members of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum asked to be exempted, and government granted that, but now the situation has turned out that they are not getting the returns they expected. The convener for the group, Dr. Edu Anani-Entry, said the group would not sue government to seek the payment of their money in view of the long processes and delays associated with court cases. But are we being fair to these elderly citizens? I remember there was a police officer who interacted with one of my colleagues, I think it was James Aveji, that, look, I have served this country for about 35 years, given my lifeblood to my country, and now I can't even enjoy my pension in peace. Quick thoughts.
I'll start with the pensioners' bond issue. It's very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. These are people who have paid their dues. They are on retirement, relaxing, and then putting themselves together. The little that we can do is to support them. Let us remember that this country, in other jurisdictions, we have what? Pensioners and support that they get through what? The welfare systems. Do we have that here? We don't. And even on their own, the little they've saved to take care of themselves, something that ought to be done by the state if we believe in welfareism, we are not doing. And they are doing for themselves by putting their money in the hands of government that use it to run the affairs of the state and then pay us our little cola on it. That is too difficult for government. This is a very insensitive government by all standards. And it's so careless. I don't get it. You don't govern like that. You create pain and you create disaffection, and you also cause, you create problems for what? People to be loyal to their state, to be committed to the effort of their state. I don't know if one day government will get the courage to say that, yes, everybody come on board, come and invest in government bonds and all that. What will be the situation, right? That is not fair. It is the least we can do for people who have paid their dues. We don't do that. We rather go to other jurisdictions. They have what? Homes for the elderly, for retirees and all that. You support them because they give up their best to the society.
Right.
This government, well, I'm surprised that is going on that tangent. And somebody must get up in the party and tell those who matter in the party that, look, this direction doesn't help anybody. You are going to leave something that will be indelible in the minds of people, and it can translate into what? Votes and other things. It doesn't help the party. But
and even apart from votes, Doc, even moving away from votes, it would appear as though everything had to do with, the end, the gains. But when you do this, we built our banking sector and trust in bonds and all of that. And the fact that government is the least risky option when you're purchasing coupons and all of that. Over decades, what this means is you create that situation where people now will think twice, thrice, 4 times before wanting to commit their money even to the banking system or to bonds and all of that, which creates an economic crisis of sorts. Because then we're talking about the unbanked, and now some people would simply say, my money to the bank. No, that's a problem.
Yeah, I am saying that because I mentioned the votes in the sense that if you say you're correct, people pick it, they take decision, use public opinion channels such as demonstration, strike, and all that, and you won't listen. The last option is what? Voting, where you vote them out, and then they learn sense from this. So we are saying that listen to them, do the best for them, especially when they have given their money to you to run the affairs of the state. Their share of that contract you must give to them. And why do you want to force them to do things that ordinarily they are not supposed to do? It's unfair, and government must be sensitive to this. I will move on to the collapsed buildings that we are having in recent times. It's nothing but what? Institutions are down. The laws, the regulations, and all that, they don't exist. They only exist on paper. Why? Because if you are supposed to obtain permit before you do something, and as soon as you start, and there are proper institutions that are activated and working, quickly they will be prompted that there's something going on which is illegal. Obviously, they will come down at you and then, force you to comply. Is that the situation in this country? No. So all the time, you see people have a field day and do things that will come back to bite society painfully. And that's what we are experiencing. because you can never put any structure anywhere in this country without permit. And permit means that you go through the proper procedures. Is that what has happened? And simply because we don't also punish them enough when they flout these things. So they have impunity has set in. Yes, I will begin and then go through the process. After all, nothing will happen. And that is the situation. If we don't correct this, we are going to have more of this. I am not a doomsayer, but where I stand, I say it, this is what I see.
Right.
Constitution must work. It must work very well. Asogli staff in demonstration. If you listen to their story, that there are some people who have been thrown out of job and they want their reinstatement and all that. This industrial dispute can be solved if management and workers can sit and then discuss this. It shouldn't be difficult for one to stand an olive branch to the other so that they can sit at the table and talk and address this. Because at the end of the day, those who own the company want the company to continue and make profit. And then those who also are working for their means of livelihood. So all these two interests must be balanced in such a way that it doesn't create a problem.
Right.
But I don't like a situation where management and matters of this nature, sometimes all these things fall on deaf ears until they are forced to do certain things that it detracts or it undermines productivity, and it doesn't bode well for organization that has that type of image that they want to salvage all the time. So I think management must listen and sit down with workers and then resolve this thing amicably. We have seen demonstration, strike, and all that, industrial arrest, but there is always a way out. They should find a way out. It is not difficult to do.
Now, just to wrap with these headlines, in less than a minute, we can react to them. The final newspaper, Ensure the True Value of Assets. That's the Commissioner of Insurance, Professor Justice Yao Furi, who has said, insuring an asset far and above the actual value of the asset is a waste of money. But the Daily Guide is where I'll wrap. There is NDC presidential polls in limbo. Dufour goes to court, and it has to do with the album. The provisions have been made. There's a bit of back and forth and maybe some hypocrisy on some ends, but that is the story there. But I'll wrap with this. FDA warns public over Polyford from Nigeria. I want to put this out there. The Food and Drugs Authority has warned the public about the recall of all batches of Polyford, and that is spelled Polyfort, suspension from Nigeria. The recalled drug is used for the treatment of heartburn, indigestion, and hyperacidity, and is manufactured in Nigeria by Swiss Pharma Limited. A statement issued by the FDA on Tuesday said the recall was due to negative results being recorded from a series of ongoing stability tests. So please, the FDA has put it out there. Be on the lookout. Polyfort, you might get into trouble. I'm putting this out there because of what we've seen with some cough mixtures and other things which took the lives of many people in Gambia, some of these products coming from India and all of that. This time it is Polyfort. So be on the lookout as a people. Final words, Doc, as we wrap.
Yes, I'll look at the FDA. Thumbs up to FDA. They are doing a good job. They are, if you now look around, they are quick to respond to things of this nature. I support them. We want to see more, and so that we can save our society. The cost of maintaining a healthy society is not easy, so we don't want to undermine this. We don't have resources. The little that we have, we want to save our people. So we have an institution which is required to check the regulations, and they are doing that for them. Should not renege. They should continue, and we support them.
Thank you, Doc, for having joined us this morning for the review. As always, I wish you the best of the day and the rest of the week. And that is Dr. Kwame Asasante. He is a political scientist, also the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Of course, this segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering free prostate screening, free fertility screening as well if you're a woman. And you can find them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. They are in Kumasi, Kronoma, here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's also Takrady Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzima. Their call line 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But only the start of sports. It's a mouth-watering lineup we have for you. Do stay for that.